freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all.
So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face, and which affects so many aspects of our daily lives. It is a problem that we have been dealing with for several years now. It's a result of a culture of entitlement, permissiveness, and moral relativism. And it's not like we haven't had character problems before. It's not like we haven't had periods of a relatively shameful character to our country as well. But we've also had periods of greatness, periods where we were a shining example of the ideals that we profess to hold dear, and times when we rose to the occasion and displayed the character that we should all aspire to have. But recently, in the last several decades, this has not been true. Our relationships don't hold together. Our politics is becoming more corrupt by the day. The general social condition of our country is not good. We have an incredible proportion of our population that is so dysfunctional that they either have to be confined behind bars or restrained in some other way. We have millions of folks on various medications just to function fairly well. And we're not talking about medications that are absolutely essential to folks who have disease processes in their brains that they had absolutely nothing to do with, and that have truly victimized them. We're not talking about that. We're talking about folks who haven't learned how to function responsibly and haven't learned how to cope very well, and especially who haven't developed the character to conduct themselves in a way that would make for sound relationships and that would build strong communities. And we see that being played out. really dramatically in our current political debates, in the current political scene, as this primary season has been well underway now for several months. And the cast of characters that we have to choose from, only a handful, only a couple of folks come to mind that have the kind of shred of decency in their character that you would feel fairly comfortable with them in a position of power and leadership. It's a pretty sad statement. You hear the song at the beginning and the end of our program, America, My Home, as it's affectionately known, Anthem for the Millennium, its official title, written by myself and my wife just before the turn of the millennium, wanting to carry the message about America's true greatness, where it really resides. It's never really resided in our military might or our economic power, but in the character of our people of decent character, who take their responsibilities seriously and who strive to make of themselves the best they can be, and who pay their dues, who stay true to the principles that they were taught. They're the fabric. They're the threads that, woven together, make the fabric of a great country. And unfortunately, in our time, the proportion of folks that is dysfunctional in some significant way, especially dysfunctional in character, has grown to too great a level for any country to really sustain itself. These are very difficult times. And toward that end, for the last 20 years or so, 25 years, I've been writing and blogging and sometimes composing music, trying to carry a message about the importance of character. We really need to make it cool again, and we need to hold folks to account. I every now and then get emails from folks. Well, I get many emails every day, but every now and then I get an email from someone who was touched by the song, who heard the song, America, My Home, and they were touched by it. And then they wanted to join the chorus of performers helping to carry the song's message. And just this past week, I got several requests, and that always edifies me because we're coming into the season now where in the next few months we'll have some holidays, some patriotic holidays, and people need to be preparing for those things now. So this is the time of the year where I start to get more requests. And there's just nothing that edifies me more than that. In all my writings, whether it be my writings on my blog at manipulative-people.com or the articles that I've written for the blog Psychology, Philosophy, and Real Life at counselingresource.com. That's counseling with two L's, resource.com. Or in my books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, the international bestseller on manipulators, manipulative types, and my other book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age, the in-depth study of all the nefarious characters you're likely to encounter out there, and what makes them really tick, and how to deal effectively, and especially how to get the right kind of help if you just happen to find yourself in a relationship with someone like that. And The Judas Syndrome, my first book for the Christian faith community, about how genuine faith can really transform and save an individual. And my latest release, How Did We End Up Here? My latest release with Dr. Catherine Armistead, co-author, excellent writer and therapist herself, about answering the question for so many people who have found themselves in the midst of or at the end of a toxic relationship and wondering how this happened, how to pick up the pieces, how to make sure it never happens again, and maybe asking, how did we get here as a society? And I'll have an announcement to make later on in the program about another upcoming book. But in all my efforts, all my writings, and through the song, I'm always carrying the same message. And that is, like the title of this program says, character matters. It matters more than anything. All of our ills, from our economic ills to our social ills, all of them can be traced back to this one single problem that is only getting worse on some levels. And as the folks in AA and various 12-step programs are wont to say, no problem gets addressed until it's first acknowledged for what it is, until we admit what the problem is, face it directly, head on. That's really, what one of the things that I'm marveling at in this political season, in this time, this primary season, is how the pots are been calling the kettle black. We have one candidate whose character is so unconcealed, so self-evident. Matter of fact, in one speech that I have recorded for demonstration purpose, actually, in one speech, he made mention of the fact that he knows that when it comes to the polls, his personality or his character is a drawback. But does he care? No. And this is the very nature of character disturbance. I say it in my books and in my online articles. It's the very nature of character disturbance. But what I remark about is that all these other folks are so willing to call attention to these ridiculous statements and the ridiculous antics of this truly disturbed person. And yet so many of them have similar features. There's only a couple There's only a couple who seem true, who seem genuinely true to the principles of righteous conduct, who honor what I call the Ten Commandments of character. And that's the book that I'll be releasing with Dr. Armistead once again. She'll be my co-author in just about 8 or 9 weeks, I hope. Yet another new release, really expanding on the principles that my years of experience as a therapist have taught me are absolutely essential life lessons to master if one is to develop the kind of character that will allow one to enter a relationship, an intimate relationship, and build something upon it, build stability, a framework for mutual growth, for raising a solid family with solid values, for promoting character development in children, for building a strong community, and thereby aid in building a strong, great country. It all has to start at the individual level, and it all starts with character. And we have a lot of forces working against that in our cultural climate of entitlement and permissiveness. And relationships, by and large, are dysfunctional. It's so unnerving as a therapist to see the change that has occurred in the last 25 years or so. Gone are the days when a therapist could simply sit back, let a person talk, and provide gentle guidance to them to work through their insecurities or their fears, or maybe their anxieties about life in general. Unfortunately, the times have changed so much that what folks are dealing with now more and more often is a partner in their relationship with serious character dysfunction. And when they try to go to get help, they often, unfortunately, encounter a situation where therapists operating within the old model of believing that everybody plays a role in some dysfunctional system don't adequately see. They don't adequately see the damage that can be inflicted on reasonable people, conscientious people, trying to hold a relationship together, but unfortunately dealing with a person with such undeveloped or seriously flawed character that the situation is unworkable. This happens far too often. And that's why I'm inundated with emails, and that's why visitors to my blog at manipulative-people.com look for resources and support one another with their comments to the articles and ask questions. And why also I get requests, many requests every week from individuals all around the globe. This is not just a problem here in this country. It's a problem everywhere. It's a problem everywhere where social norms have changed to the point where there is so much relativism, so much entitlement, so much permissiveness, that the basic standards of decency are truly unknown. Folks can't even agree upon them, let alone know what they are and then adhere to them. This, indeed, is the phenomenon of our age, character disturbance, just like my book is titled. Maybe you are in one of those situations. Maybe you're in one of those relationships where you're at your wit's end, trying to figure out what to do. Maybe you've tried to get help and experienced the frustration that many people have because there is so little awareness among mental health professionals about the true nature of character disturbance, and especially about the methodology necessary to treat it fairly effectively. And if you are, and you want to call in and ask me a question, or if you have just a general comment to make or an observation, or you just think you have a story to share that others might find interesting or helpful, then give us a call. The lines are open. This is a live program tonight. Give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. I mentioned earlier that I am going to have yet another book coming out with Dr. Armistead. We participated in the book How Did We End Up Here?, which is already, thanks to good word of mouth, thanks to you out there, and thanks to the readers of my blog at manipulative-people.com, and good word of mouth. It's already selling very well. I appreciate that. Many have told me that it is the better of all the books, and I'm happy to hear that. But How Did We End Up Here is available on Amazon. It's also available as a Kindle or ebook download from Amazon. So I trust that you'll make yourself available of it if you're dealing with a relationship and wondering how it is that you got to the place where you are in the relationship, where you seriously having to consider exiting it, or perhaps you're already at the end of your rope and know that's what you have to do, and you're wondering, reflecting back on how it all happened and wanting to guarantee that a similar thing does not happen in the future after you pick up the pieces and move on. How Did We End Up Here is the book that Dr. Armistead and I wrote for just that purpose. So I urge you to get it and to tell your friends about it. I appreciate that. I think you'll find it helpful and informative. But Dr. Armistead and I have wanted for a while to expand upon a part of the book, character disturbance, and a small series of articles that I had on my blog at manipulative-people.com, and really discuss in depth the 10 life lessons that I think are absolutely essential for folks to learn in order to develop decent character. And I have affectionately called these life lessons the 10 Commandments of Sound Character Development. And so that's the tentative title of the book. And as I said, it should be available in the next 8 or 9 weeks. Working on the editing right now and the proofing. First draft is ready. And so, and it will also be a CreateSpace independent publication available on Amazon and as a Kindle download. So I hope to have more announcements for you down the road, and I will certainly have an announcement for you when pre-sale of the book is available. But I've really wanted to do this for quite some time, and I'm really grateful for Dr. Armistead's help in putting this together. We both felt it was a necessary book. we both felt that two groups of folks really needed this. We felt that parents needed this book to help inoculate their children against the culture that fosters such poor character development. We thought that parents needed to have kind of a guidebook, educators too, for how to instill the kinds of values, the kinds of principles that would carry a person into adulthood with the kind of character that they need to function in a really healthy and pro-social manner. So we thought that that was one audience that really needed the book. But the other audience that needs the book are those folks who are kind of waking up at some point along the way and realizing that their character is a mess. I just got an email just today from someone who was taking a look in the mirror. This person didn't identify their age, but if I had to guess, I would say they were in middle age. And they were just now coming to terms with all the damage that they've done over the years and all the amends that they need to make and all the changes that they would have to make. But they don't even know how to begin, let alone where to begin, or how to accomplish the task. How do you transform yourself? How do you become a different person? Especially late in the game when all your habits are pretty set and deeply ingrained. You know, there's a saying, a leopard can't change his spots. And a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that once a personality is formed, once character becomes ingrained, that it's impossible to change. Well, it's not impossible. It's not impossible at all. We have it within ourselves to be better people. And many people do at some point come to some terms with their character deficiencies and realize that they've got a lot of growing to do. And so this next book lays out the principles that have to be mastered and how to master them. Just exactly how to change, how to go about the process of changing attitudes, changing ways of thinking, changing ways of behaving that will lead to positive character growth. It can be done. But as all too many people have found out, when they go seeking help, perhaps they're in a relationship with someone with a pretty significant personality or character disorder, and they go seeking help. Unfortunately, if they find someone who's aligned with some of the old perspectives, some of the traditional perspectives on mental health, maybe even they go to someone who is of the school of thought, and there are such schools of thought, where they don't even recognize the role of character in problems. Instead, they want to talk about things like, addictive behavior. Or they want to talk about fears and insecurities. Or they want to talk about communications difficulties. When none of those things really touches the surface of the real problem, really addresses the real problem. Or perhaps the professional believes that there really is a problem with character, but is of the school of thought that says that you can't do anything about it anyway, at least not with the methods that most professionals were trained with. Well, that is true. You certainly can't deal effectively with character-related problems with the techniques and the tools that were helpful in helping people deal with their fears and anxieties and insecurities. It's a whole different ballgame. I've been doing trainings across the country. You can find out information about these trainings if by the way you're a professional and you want to find more about the schedule, see when I'm coming to your area. You can either go to my blog site at manipulative-people.com and click on the tab for workshops and seminars and get the information there. I update that fairly regularly, every couple of weeks or so. Or you can go to the Cross Country Education website. They're the sponsor of my workshop tours, and get information on my workshops titled Manipulators and Other Character Disorders, Intervention Strategies and Perspectives. And in those workshops, I give you a completely new perspective on how to deal with the phenomenon of our age. This is a workshop that's designed for mental health professionals and is priced accordingly, by the way, but it's open to anyone. It's open to anyone. Perhaps you just want to come and get the education, and perhaps you don't need the CEUs, and perhaps you have the resources. And that's fine. I apologize for the fact that these trainings are geared toward professionals, and therefore they're priced accordingly. They're priced according to what professionals typically have to pay for their ongoing professional training. But they are open to anyone. And coming up next, in just a few weeks, the first week in May, I will be in the New York area. I will be in the I'll be doing 2 workshops on Long Island, and then one in the Times Square area of Manhattan. And that is in May. And I believe that we're talking about the Wednesday, the 5th of May, or maybe it's the 6th. Let me just see. I'll check the calendar here. It's the Wednesday, the 4th, of May, Thursday, the 5th, and Friday, the 6th. Those are the 3 days. I'll be on Long Island on the 4th and the 5th, and in Manhattan on the 6th. And then 2 weeks from then, on the 18th, 19th, and 20th, I'll be in Springfield, Missouri, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City. So check my blog site at manipulative-people.com or check the Cross Country Education website and get the details on my workshops and find out when I'll be in your area. I'm happy to have you, even if you're not a mental health professional. I'll also have books with me to sell at a discount. And I'll be happy to autograph them for you as well. But I'm doing these trainings primarily because there are still so many professionals who are hungry. They're hungry for information about how to deal with the problem of our age. They know, most professionals know at some level what we're really dealing with more and more frequently these days. There are various reasons why professionals give the diagnoses that they give or frame the problems that they see in the way they do. But underneath it all, they know that a good part of the time, the problems individuals are having is directly related to character dysfunction, to not having developed the kind of character that would allow them to behave responsibly within their relationship, within their lives, within their communities. And so they're hungry for those tools that, and a perspective that would help give them hope that there's really something that can be done about that. And so this is the kind of training that I'm doing. I get a dozen or so inquiries each week. In the stack of emails I get, maybe a dozen of them are asking the same question. And that is, who in my area gets it? Who in my area really understands what I've been dealing with? And who can I go to for the help that I need? Because I've sought help before and didn't get it. They just didn't understand. Worse, sometimes they were even unduly swayed by a charming, manipulative character, a severely disturbed character, but with enough charm and with enough sophistication and enough manipulative skill to snow the therapist. This can be a really disappointing experience for an individual in a character-disturbed relationship. It induces what we call therapy-induced trauma, whereby they're already hurting enough, and then they seek help only to feel worse, and only to feel more helpless and hopeless, thinking that there's nothing that can be done. So that's why I've embarked on this training tour. It'll be going probably through the middle of next year. This year is already going to be booked through December, and I'll have all the dates and sites on the website, on the blog site, as soon as I have confirmation of the locations from Cross Country Education. Once again, if you want to join the conversation, if you have a question you want to ask, if you have a story you want to share that you think our listeners would be interested in hearing, if you just want to pick my brain about something, give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I want to talk just a little bit today about the week that it has been in this political arena, in this primary season. Two truly character-disturbed individuals that I want to talk about in particular. You know, I hate to make things personal, but there are some things so egregious and so representative of character dysfunction. People who have been dealing with a character-disturbed person know these kinds of behaviors so well that they're worth mentioning when you see prime examples of this behavior. You just have to call it out. I'll start with the first person. Hillary Clinton, who was confronted by someone. Well, she was confronted twice. Once, she was confronted about some folks who were bankrolling her campaign and whom her opponent basically broadcast were bankrolling her campaign. Well, not only did she lie about it, but then she claimed that the person who called her out was himself lying and that the campaign was lying. Well, the facts are the facts. And she was confronted with the facts. And one of the things about disturbed characters is it's not so much that they lie, because they do lie. Lying is one of their principal manipulation tactics. And in my books, I point out that the artful way of lying is so great that there's just so many ways they can lie. Careful word parsing, distortion of minor details that are still significant, half-truths, leaving out important details, lying by omission, careful, artful lying. So it's not so much that they lie, but how they lie. And then here's the other part. Shamelessly, without any sense of shame, no compunction, no hesitation. You know, I have 2 grandchildren, and children will lie to you. But so long as their character has not become severely disturbed and ingrained, you can look them in the eye many times. I'll look mine in the eye and I will say, is that really true? And they can hardly hold it together. They can hardly stand to maintain the fraud. They crumble. Why? Because they have this thing inside of them that we call a conscience that's been developing and causes them to become unnerved and anxious when they're doing something or saying something that goes against that conscience. But the more and more a person has succumbed to character disturbance, the more severely impaired and severely disordered a person is in character, the less compunction they have. They've learned how to completely quiet that conscience or do away with it altogether. And they've especially learned to do away with any sense of guilt, and more especially than that, any sense of shame. No compunction whatsoever. None. The other thing that Ms. Clinton was confronted about was her stance on gay marriage. Even in the face of years of video and audio evidence, even recent evidence, and then daring to claim, not, you know, here's the thing with pathological lying, as everyone knows. It's not that it would have hurt to said something like, well, you know, my opinion has evolved over time. I used to believe one way. Now I believe a different way. It's evolved. The truth, as it were, would do just fine. But some people, the more severely character impaired, even when the truth would do just fine, can't do it. More accurately, won't do it. Why? Because it's all about maintaining a position of advantage and maintaining a certain impression, casting a certain impression about their character, as opposed to letting you in on their true character. It's all about the appearance, all about the facade. And that's what the pathological lying is all about. No need for it. Absolutely no need for it. Except the person doing it senses the need. And the need is always to keep you in the position that they want you in. To quash any resistance you might have to the agenda that they have before you. It's kind of like the gaslighting effect, too. Gaslighting being the tactic where you make the other person who's just confronted you feel crazy, feel out of their mind, like they don't know what they're talking about. The term comes from the stage play and the movie Gaslight, in which this nefarious character husband was trying to make his wife believe she was going insane. That's the tactic that severely impaired characters use. And, you know, we've reached a point, unfortunately, in our country where it doesn't seem to matter as much. Where we just expect people to do our bidding. So we don't expect much in the way of character. We've kind of given up on that. As much as character does matter, we've kind of resigned ourselves, I think, many times to thinking that this is the character of disturbed age, and that everybody is a character impaired individual to some degree. So let's just find somebody who we believe will do our bidding, who will champion our particular cause, and if they will, we'll vote for them, even if they are completely rotten to the core. What a sad statement that is. It's a sad day for our country. Now, I picked on Miss Clinton first, but that isn't the worst example that we saw this past week. Mr. Trump shows that kind of brash, arrogant confidence that overconfidence that is so common in narcissistic individuals. And he also provides an example of something I wanted to talk about for some time, and that is, you know, these nice, neat little pigeonholes that we had for many years for different types of personality and character disturbances. We now realize that it is really difficult to categorize people in nice, neat little pigeonholes. Rather, there are all these disturbing traits that character-impaired people have. And it's a matter of degree. And it's a matter of degree how seriously certain traits are present as well. So this particular character, this truly impaired character, who wants to be president of the United States, has plenty of narcissism, plenty of braggadocio, plenty of overconfidence. And you know, people who have this character flaw, sometimes they have absolutely nothing to show for themselves. And you can see the phony nature of their overrepresentation of themselves. But sometimes they actually do have something to show for themselves. The disturbance has to do with overplaying one's worth, one's capabilities. That's what ego inflation is all about. It's an overestimate of worth. These are the folks that think they're all that and sincerely believe they're all that, because after all, it doesn't really matter what the evidence is. All that matters is what they say to themselves or anybody else. And so this week, this truly nefarious character, this truly severely disturbed character, faced a number of issues in which he had to eventually backtrack because he was winging it, completely winging it on the interviews, acting like he knew or had an answer when he hadn't given it much thought. And could he just say, I haven't really thought about that? No, because it would go against the narrative that he has been building for all these months, that he's the best, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. And there was one time during the debate in Detroit, I have this video clip saved as well, where he was asked the question. He was asked the question about whether he would actually give torture orders to military folks, and what would happen if they refused to obey those orders because of the stringent rules that have been put in place since Senate hearings on waterboarding and other things. And his response was, oh, they'll listen to me. I can assure you. They'll follow my orders. With that brash confidence that he has more power than he does have. In the mind of the narcissist, thinking makes it so. And it isn't like they don't know things. And it isn't that they don't have a lot going on. It's just that they overestimate and overplay. That's the nature of this character disturbance. I've mentioned the Dallas Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones. He frustrates me because I'm a Cowboys fan. This man knows football. He just doesn't know as much as he thinks he does. He knows a bit about coaching. He knows a lot about the game. He just doesn't know as much as he thinks he knows. So is he ever going to hire anybody that he can truly turn over the reins to and pay them to do the job? No. Because in his mind, nobody can do it better, and it doesn't really matter what the evidence says. He's a legend in his own mind. So, finally, after being a fan for, since the mid-'60s, I'm finally turning the TV off because I just can't take it anymore. It's not really funny. There is so much character disturbance out there. It's no longer funny. And it's hurting us in so many ways. In so many ways. We have to get back to basics. We have to make character cool again. We have to focus on it. That's why I'm really excited about this book that Dr. Armistead and I will have coming out in about 8 or 9 weeks. I hope maybe even sooner. I'll have more announcements about it. But the essential life lessons that we have to teach our kids and that we have to teach ourselves, that we have to master. Maybe we're at the point in life where we kind of realize the holes we've dug for ourselves and the flaws that we need to correct, and we want to get about the business of doing so. And so we need a guidebook. That's exactly what the 10 Commandments of Character is going to address. It's going to give parents a set of principles and give them examples for how to set the stage for instilling the kind of character in their children that will give them resilience against this culture of entitlement, permissiveness, and moral relativism. Will help them instill the kind of moral compass that will guide them through their lives and lead them to have healthy, satisfying, productive relationships. So look for it soon. Look for another announcement. Check out my manipulative-people.com website for some timely articles. Got a series going right now that is on basically the 10 commandments of character development. Is kind of a sneak preview into some of the stuff that you'll be seeing in my new book. Not in as much depth, but at least it'll give you a sneak preview as to what to look for. So take a journey on over there, and if you have a mind to, avail yourself of any of my other books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, the international bestseller and guidebook to the manipulative folks that you encounter in your life, Character Disturbance, the phenomenon of our age, that'll give you a good insight into all the disturbed characters you're likely to meet out there, how to handle such folks, and especially how to find the right kind of help if you are in a relationship with one of these folks. My book, The Judas Syndrome, if you're a member of the Christian faith community and you're looking for an inspirational read on how the genuine faith can truly transform, The Judas Syndrome is for you. And then my latest book, with Dr. Armistead, Character Disturbance, How Did We End Up Here? How did we end up here? Look soon for my next book with Dr. Armistead, The 10 Commandments of Character. I'll have more on that on the next edition of Character Matters. Once again, I thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate, as we close the program, that you once again pay attention to the message being carried by the song that my wife and I wrote, remembering where our greatness as a country really has to lie, has always lied in the past during those great times. Not in our military might, not in our economic power, but in the character of our people of good character, who honor and cherish our best ideals, who live them out in their everyday lives, who take their responsibilities seriously, who try to uphold integrity, and upon whom the very survival of our freedom depends. And I invite you to tune in again next week. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm Dr. George Simon, wishing you a pleasant good evening. I'll see you next week on another edition of Character Matters. Take care and good night.